So everyone, welcome to Prenumberdoll's kitchen, or gosh, it's just Tina's kitchen, the family kitchen. So I have had requests over the years to do some sort of cooking. Now I don't want to go anything too fancy. I'm just going to keep it basic because I don't know what the feedback's going to be like, but I'm just going to do just what I like is my favorite chocolate cookie. Anyway, I've got my ingredients there and I'll put a list of what's going in these down below. Now I actually like them fairly cocoa-y and buttery. That's how I like my cookies. Of course you can vary the butter and the flour ratio. I'll go over that in a moment. And this is actually pretty much a basis of my favorite chocolate cookie, which is an Afghan, quite a popular cookie in New Zealand. And really all you would do is pretty much follow this recipe, but just put a cup of cornflakes in it, or your Special K, whatever you want to call them, whatever brand you want to use. Anyway, let's just go over the ingredients I've got here. So I've got sugar. I have half a cup of sugar. I like to use caster sugar, just your finely milled sugar. I have vanilla essence. I've got cocoa, flour, and I'll use, say, 1 1/3 to 1 cup. I'll go over sort of why in a moment. And then with the cocoa, you can vary it. You can have 4 heaped tablespoons of cocoa, or 4 flat. It just really depends, or even 5 or 3. It depends how cocoa-y you want it. And as far as vanilla essence, I only use 1 teaspoon. I normally just sort of guess it and just use sort of the lid. I do have golden syrup. I just like mine a little bit more sort of that sort of vanilla-y flavor. And then I do have the flour. So I've already sifted the cup of flour. I've put 1 1/3 in there. And then over here I've already left out some butter. This is 200 grams of butter. That might be a lot. I think your standard cookie biscuit will have about 125 to 150 of sort of butter. Like I said, I like them fairly buttery. You can also alternate it. If you wanted it a little bit more crunchy, you might have 125 grams of butter and then have the rest as condensed milk if you want a little bit more crunchy, sort of that sort of mellow flavor. But I'm going all out. Anyway, let's get to sort of how I mix it. Like I said, I already sifted my flour. Now I'm going to sift in my cocoa. Now this one is actually, I've got probably about 4 1/2 heaped tablespoons of cocoa there. So I'm just going to sift this. And I did really want to do this sort of face on, but my son got a little bit excited with the tripod, so that's out of order for the moment. So I'm going to try and do it one-handed, which is going to be very interesting. So hey, welcome back from the transitioning. So all I've done there is I've sifted in the cocoa and I've actually just mixed it through thoroughly. Okay, now all I've done is I've just put in a little bit of golden syrup. It's completely up to you. You might like to adjust the ratio of golden syrup to the sugar, or your caster sugar or brown sugar, whatever you're putting in there. I just do a little bit extra because what I do is I've got quite a bit of cocoa. Obviously with the ratio of cocoa to sugar, it might be a little bit more bittersweet if you're going for maybe your rich, darker sort of cocoa, or your real rich chocolatey ones if you've got a lot of cocoa going in there. So I like it a little bit bittersweet, but like today I just feel like a little bit of sweetness going in there, so I've just thrown in a little bit more golden syrup. You don't have to have any at all. And then what I'm going to do now is start to cream the mixture. So what will go in now is my 1/2 cup of sugar, and like I said, I've got the caster sugar. So in we go. We'll mix that. I've also got clean hands and I've removed any jewelry. I do watch a lot of cooking shows and they love to leave jewelry dangling in the food, and they've got rings on and they're mixing their hands there, which is great. I'm sure they've cleaned their hands before they even touch the food, of course, but you just think about all that stuff under the rings and that. I prefer when I'm cooking in the kitchen, if my hands are going to go in that, which they are, I'm going to roll the mixture. Really, just take your rings off. It's not a big deal. It only takes a little bit, and I've just put them there so they're not going anywhere. I know where they are, and I've just got an apron on. This is actually was my mother's apron, so it's very sentimental to me. So I don't care if it doesn't look trendy. I like it. That's what counts. So here we are. All I've done, I've just folded it through just a couple of times. Just gently there. Now you can see the mixtures combined a little bit. Now I'm ready to actually use the electric beater, so I'm going to have to transition again just so I can use my other hand to pick it up. So okay, so I'm not sure how well I did. I tried to do it hands-free to sort of film it, but it's a little bit hard. So what I've already done, I've just sort of started. I've only been doing maybe barely a minute, just sort of mixing it with the electric beater. So as you can see, it started to change color. It's gone that nice white to creamy color. as it's creaming away. So what we wanted to do is just mix the custard sugar nicely. It's good because it's not the big granule or granular sort of sugar, because it's not your standard one or your raw sugar. So it shouldn't take too long to sort of mix through there, but it's not getting nice and fluffy and light. So probably another maybe a minute, half a minute, and it should be all creamed, and then I can combine the dry ingredients. And once you've done, what you could do is once you finish creaming it, you can put in your dry ingredients. Like if you're doing your, say, your cup of cornflakes to make Afghans, or if you wanted to do your cup of chocolate, if you're doing maybe double chocolate chips, that's what I like to do, which is really, really yummy, or even white chocolate chips. Okay, we're back, all done with the creaming. So you see, nice and fluffy and creamed. So I'm now ready to fold in the dry ingredients. So it's really just the flour and the cocoa. Well, of course, like I said, you could have put in your other, so like your chocolate or whatever you want to combine in there, and then fold in the actual flour, or you can do it even after. Just I don't want to over mix it. Not I really think you can over mix cookies anyway. Now see how I can do this. I like to do it sort of half and half. Like I'll put in maybe half to a third of the mixture, and then just fold it in, and then sort of just do the rest. So I wonder if I can actually hold the camera and do this. Let's see if I can. Okay, that's with all of the flour and cocoa mix in, and I'm just going to keep slowly sort of folding it through until it's mixed nicely. And then I'm ready to actually roll the actual mixture onto the baking paper. So it's up to you. I've just got a tray. Let's try and not go in here, the messy sink. So I've got a tray over here. I do prefer the flat trays, but what actually happened is it's sort of gone through and rusted. So I've had to just use this tray, unfortunately. But I do prefer this sort of flatter trays, and I just line it. Like you can obviously get the nice tray with sort of butter on it. I just like to use the baking paper. It's just easier to get them off, and of course, because I was filming it, I ripped too little and then I've ripped too much. So I can't do that nice styly kitchen look, but that you get the general idea. So okay, welcome back. So I've done that mixing there. Now I just wanted to explain something about the sort of cookie. Okay, I'm just going to finish that bit about the sort of cookie mixture, or the sort of texture. You can see this is, I don't know how to actually say it, it's not too wet. Like sometimes I'll get it, it's very, very fluffy and very, very light. And when I actually go to pick it up to roll it into a little ball to put on the actual tray, if it's sort of sticking to my hands and sticking to the side of the bowl, it's actually fairly wet, which probably means it's going to be quite a flat cookie once you pop it in the oven. It'll be quite flat but quite crispy and buttery. And I do find, because it just means you've just got a lot of butter to the, say, sugar ratio. I find like this where I've probably got a good mix of the butter to the flour, so it's not sticking to the side of the bowl. It's still fairly firm, and I'd say a little bit drier. I find that I'm going to get a firmer sort of cookie. It's going to be a little bit higher. It's not going to sort of spread out on the tray. It's more like your traditional sort of cookie thickness and shape. Again, of course, it depends how you roll it, but that's sort of how I find it. You can play around with the ratio of flour to butter, sort of depending on how you want it. You can do this solely with a spoon and like one of your hands, or both hands, or whatever, or a teaspoon. I've just got a dessert spoon, and that's pretty much what you could fit in the shape of a dessert spoon, sort of what I want to go for the amount to roll. Of course, it purely depends on you, on the size of your tray, or how big you want your cookies to be. Now, because I've got like nice clean hands, like I said, I don't have any of that jewelry to add any extra flavor. I'm going to use my hands, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to unfortunately put the camera down to sort of do this. Just rolled it, pop it on the tray, however you want to do it. Now you can sort of leave it like that. Some people like that, and it'll just sort of mount and spread out as it obviously cooks, so you get a nice shape. You might like to pat it down, and then that way you can sort of control how they'll be a little bit flatter, but that way you can control the sort of size you go through, so you can have these nice evenly sized cookies. Some people like to do that little fork thing as well. You can do that with. Okay. It was so funny. It was so funny. But anyway, what I've actually done, I've just done the flattened sort of style, a little bit rustic. Then I've got the just the ball style, the fork style, a little bit more flattened style, and then just a spare one because we had a bit of a eating fest over here, the whole family. So that's what we got left. But I just wanted to see if there was an actual difference. We'll show you a difference once they're cooked and come out. So what I said, I'm going to put them in our oven on the low fan. So obviously it depends if you've got the fan force or not. But on us, it's about 180 for about 15 minutes. I normally just judge it. Again, it does depend on that sort of butter and sort of flour ratio. I find when there's a little bit more butter, they tend to sort of get, and they're flatter, they cook a little bit faster. So you just keep an eye on it around about the 10-minute mark. They're not going to completely collapse. They're not like, it's not like a cake, like if you open the oven, it's not just going to go, it doesn't have any egg or anything in there. So I will keep an eye on it from the 10-minute mark, just to sort of judge where they are. When you see those nice sort of cracks start to form at the top, so it means the heat's gone right through the cookie and it's cooking nicely. Almost ready to come out. You can see they've risen nicely, they're nice and puffy, they've got the cracks, so they're cooking and they're buttery. Okay, they're just out of the oven. So as you can see, the ones that were sort of rolled and I let sort of just spread out in the oven, not too much of a difference, but you can see they're a little bit higher. If you sort of like that look, you like it, might like it a little bit more moist in the middle because they're all being cooked for the same amount of time. These ones, because I squashed them down, they're a little bit flatter. They're probably going to be a little bit crunchier as well. These were the ones I did with the fork. As you can see, they just sort of splayed out a little bit more, and they look very, very crumbly. So it just depends what sort of style you like. A little of a sort of a messier style, just sort of neat, uniform, higher and crunchier, sorry, softer. And of course you could just ice these if you so wish. Try not to have too much sugar going on, so we're probably just going to eat them plain, you know, nice cup of coffee and that, or a cup